Good morning and welcome to Rising. As always, we have a great show for you today. I'm Amber Duke, joined at the desk by Kevin Walling.
Amber, good to be back with you. Just a light news day on this, 5 days out from Christmas on this Friday.
I know. Merry Christmas to everybody if we don't see you before then. But let's get right into the news. There's a lot to cover. The House is in chaos. Republicans' second crack at a funding deal failed in a House floor vote Thursday. Here's what Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters on Friday morning.
Is there going to be a different bill on the floor today?
Are you going to vote today? Yeah, we're expecting votes this morning, so stay tuned. We got a plan.
You've reached a new agreement?
We'll see.
And everything still seems to be in flux right now, so let's revisit how we got here. The first bill that House Speaker Mike Johnson unveiled was 1,500 pages long, but Elon Musk and President-elect Donald Trump spearheaded an effort to crush it. The Plan B stopgap was cut down to 160 pages, but still included the $110 billion that would be used to aid farmers and disaster relief. A crucial difference with that bill, though, was the 2-year debt ceiling suspension. Hardline Republicans like Chip Roy of Texas and Thomas Massie of Kentucky were furious with Plan B. Let's listen.
We are going to increase the debt ceiling, not just $4 trillion, that's false. We have spent $4.7 trillion in additional debt in the last 19 months. We're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion. That's what's going to happen right here by Republicans, increasing the debt $5 trillion. And what are you doing in the same bill? $110 billion unpaid for. The entire body has been racking up debt for my entire life.
Massie took to X and wrote, "This isn't complicated. Separate the bills and vote on them individually." Radical, right? Individual bills for each issue.
President-elect Trump, on the other hand, advocated for getting rid or extending the debt ceiling. He said it didn't mean anything, quote, except psychologically. He also took some shots at Roy on Truth Social. Chip Roy is just another ambitious guy with no talent. By the way, how's Bob Good doing? I hope some talented challengers are getting ready in the great state of Texas to go after Chip in the primary. He won't have a chance. Democrats also criticized the bill, especially the fact that Republicans changed course after a full court press by Elon Musk and President-elect Trump. Here's Democrat House Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Maryland's Jamie Raskin.
The Musk-Johnson proposal is not serious. It's laughable. Extreme MAGA Republicans are driving us to a government shutdown.
Everybody agreed, and then it was blown up by Elon Musk, who apparently has become the fourth branch of government. Who is our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, supposed to negotiate with? Is it Mike Johnson? Is he the Speaker of the House? Or is it Donald Trump? Or is it Elon Musk? Or is it somebody else?
Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi also jumped in on the action. She wrote on Twitter, quote, "Elon Musk ordered his puppet president-elect and House Republicans to break the bipartisan agreement reached to keep government open. House Republicans are abdicating their responsibility to the American people and siding with billionaires and special interests. The last time the government shut down was in 2019 on then-President Trump's watch." So a lot of chaos. Obviously, news is breaking, minute by minute this morning, hoping for a deal to avert the shutdown, which goes into effect at midnight tonight, Amber.
Yeah, it's super classic. Let's just start with this, that Congress waits until the last minute.
They love a Christmas holiday.
Yes,
yeah.
They do, because of course it puts political pressure on everybody to vote for whatever the agreed upon massive spending bill is, and anyone who objects is the Grinch who stole Christmas
Exactly.
and furloughed all of these poor government employees over the holidays. So it's intentional. I mean, obviously, they know when the deadline is to get a spending deal reached, and they continually wait until the last couple of days. And Speaker Johnson unveils this 1,500-page bill and expects members to vote on it within 24 hours. Obviously, that's not enough time to actually read it.
And breaking his own, I think it's a 3-day rule for this kind of
exactly,
right, for
breaking
review.
his own rule and claiming that he had reached a deal. Well, a deal with whom? Only the Democrats, apparently, because you had all of these Republicans coming out and saying they felt completely betrayed by Speaker Johnson. So I don't think the problem here was Trump and Elon Musk, although they obviously did put pressure, with Trump being the leader of the Republican Party, on some of these people who were on the fence from voting for it. But the way Speaker Johnson handled this from the get was really the problem.
Well, I think to your point, he's navigating this tightrope, right? He needs to keep the government functioning. We've seen in the past any kind of government shutdowns usually hurt Republicans, although there isn't that long-term hit to them. We remember, the 35-day shutdown with then President Trump back in 2018 to 2019. And he also needs to try and keep his job going from the 118th Congress to the 119th Congress. So he's got this thread that he's got a needle. He knows he's going to have Republicans, especially these hardline Republicans, Freedom Caucus members, who will never vote for a CR. We saw 38 of them come out against this Plan B bill last night. So he needs Democrats in order to get this passed. It's also a Democrat-controlled Senate for the last couple of weeks here before January 3rd. So he is in this very tenuous position, not made any easier by Donald Trump and Elon Musk, certainly.
Yeah, and I think there's a few things here that are sticking points for various coalitions, which is that everybody seems to agree on the $110 billion in farm aid and disaster relief. That's fine. Thomas Massie and Chip Roy would prefer to have things like that in their own individual bills as opposed to part of a broader continuing resolution spending package, which I think is totally fair. But then you have Trump coming in and saying that he wants to continue the suspension of the debt ceiling, which is a no-go for those Freedom Caucus Republicans and Republicans who are concerned about increasing government spending. But I tend to fall on Trump's side on this one because one of the key things that he wants to do when he takes office, two key things. One is to extend the Trump tax cuts for the middle class.
From 2017.
Because they're only permanent for the corporations right now. And then the second thing is to carry out the mass deportation plans. Both of those things count towards government spending and the debt limit. The government accounting counts a tax cut as spending because you're bringing in less revenue. So if he were to extend those tax cuts, he would almost immediately be up against this debt ceiling where it currently sits. Of course, it's suspended right now, but if it were to go back into place, he'd be right up there. He wouldn't have any money left to start carrying out the mass deportations or do any of the
music to my ears.
Sure, but any of the other projects that he would want to do. And so his suggestion is, give me 2 years. The debt ceiling's been suspended since June of 2023. Why would you do it for Joe Biden but not for me so I can enact my policy agenda? And then we can, with the help of DOJ and all of these other congressional subcommittees, then we can work on eliminating spending in other areas. So there has to be a balance, is his argument.
Well, and the amazing thing is you've seen some Democrats amenable to that issue of, because the debt ceiling really doesn't, it's supposed to handcuff Congress and to spend within our means. It certainly hasn't done it. We're at $35 trillion.
Well, they just vote to increase it.
They just always vote to increase it. We have this showdown constantly. But you're seeing the reaction. The pushback isn't from Democrats; it's from Republicans.
Right.
We played obviously Chip Roy. No fan of the president. They have an interesting relationship going back years, and the real pushback is Republicans and Thomas Massie, who is consistent on debt issues and the fact that we're overspending. So we're seeing this Republican and the 119th Congress is even going to be closer in terms of numbers for the Republican caucus. They haven't even taken office yet, and we still can't get the basic functioning of government accomplished. And we're heading into the next 2 weeks. 40 million Americans are going to be traveling. There's questions about TSA. Obviously, you have mandatory government functions in place, but it's going to be a huge issue if troops, for example, aren't taking home their pay, which is part of this. Social Security checks will still go out, but you have, to your point early on, a lot of government employees furloughed, not having money coming in for Christmas, and it just seems like a disaster of the Republicans making.
Yeah, I mean, inevitably, it always gets blamed on the Republicans, and regardless of whether or not it's actually their fault, I think there's more of an argument in this case. But it seems to me like the obvious compromise here is do a skinny CR through March, give Trump sort of a clean slate heading into the first fiscal year of his presidency, continue the suspension of the debt limit so he can enact his policy agenda. And if you want to enact any other line item spending packages, then do them on an individual basis. Like I saw one of the really dishonest framings of this, which people love to do on both sides of the political aisle, is they will pull out one thing from the bill and say, if you vote against the 1,500-page bill, then you want to kill kids with cancer.
The 190 million earmarked for pediatric cancer research. Certainly.
Okay, if that's important to you, then pass it as an individual bill. It doesn't need to be a part of this massive spending boondoggle with all of this pork in it, because to say that that's what people are voting against when there's 1,400 other pages is incredibly misleading. So that would be my suggestion, though, is do a skinny CR.
And that's what some Republican senators, John Kennedy, others have floated already this morning, a 3-week, clean CR extension.
I guess that's Plan C.
Yeah, Plan C. We're going to be Plan D, E, F pretty soon. The interesting thing to me, and what I want your perspective as a Republican strategist and journalist, you had 38 Republican members vote against the bill, Plan B, that was backed and endorsed by the president-elect, Elon Musk. They were pushing their representatives on the Hill to enact that, and you had 38 defections. I wonder what that portends for the next 2-4 years of a chief, commander-in-chief Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is sort of their last hurrah because it's easier to vote against Trump before he's actually commander-in-chief. But we'll see. I mean, I'm curious about that too, because some of these people, like Nancy Mace, who's
all over the place,
on this.
She's my representative down in South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord, she's like arguing with people on Twitter about whether or not she would sleep with them. It's bizarre, but
very bizarre.
But then you saw on the Senate side with people who were opposed to Pete Hegseth, like Joni Ernst, starting to come around as she gets that pressure put on her. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that those 38 holdouts are going to be as vocal against Trump when his term actually starts. But we'll see.
Buckle up. It's going to be an interesting...
It is. Classic Republican caucus. They can't agree on anything. All right. We have a lot more to cover here on Rising. Stick around after this.